Nobody checks on the strong one. Think about that for a second. In every group, every family, every workplace, there's one person everyone goes to. The one who listens without judgment. The one who shows up when things fall apart. The one who somehow always has the energy to hold everyone else together. And that person almost never falls apart themselves. Not because they don't want to, not because they don't need to, but because somewhere along the way, they learned that falling apart wasn't something they were allowed to do. If that person is you, this video is going to explain something about yourself that you've never quite been able to put into words. Because the exhaustion you carry isn't just tiredness, it's something much deeper than that.
Here's what a typical day looks like for someone like this. You wake up already thinking about other people. What does this person need today? Is that friend okay? Did I say the right thing yesterday? You run through the emotional checklist before you've even had coffee. At work, people come to you with their problems. Not your manager, not HR, you. Because you're safe, because you listen, because somehow they always feel better after talking to you. By evening, you've absorbed 3 people's anxiety, 2 people's frustration, and 1 person's crisis that had nothing to do with you. And when someone finally asks how you're doing, you say, fine. Not because you are fine, but because explaining how you actually feel would take more energy than you have left. Here's the strange part. Nobody taught you to do this. It just became who you are, and at some point, you stopped being able to separate the role from the person. Psychologists have a name for what's happening inside people like this. It's called emotional labor. And it's not just about being kind or supportive. Emotional labor is the constant internal work of managing your own feelings while simultaneously managing the feelings of everyone around you. It's invisible, it's exhausting, and it never actually ends. Here's what most people never realize. The brain of someone who carries this kind of load is working significantly harder than it appears from the outside. Every conversation requires rapid emotional processing, reading tone, adjusting response, regulating personal reaction, all happening simultaneously, all below the surface. Neuroscience researchers call this affective empathy combined with cognitive empathy, meaning these people don't just understand what you feel, they feel it with you, and then they manage both. That's not a small thing. That is one of the most cognitively demanding things a human brain can do. And most people doing it every single day don't even realize they're doing it. But here's what nobody talks about. This didn't start at work. It didn't start in adulthood. For most people who carry this kind of strength, it started very early. Maybe you grew up in a home where someone needed you to be okay so they could be okay. Maybe there was a parent who struggled, a sibling who needed protecting, a household where emotional instability was always just one wrong word away. And you learned, very young, that your job was to hold things steady. You learned to read the room before you entered it. You learned to sense the mood shift before anyone spoke. You learned to shrink your own emotional needs because the room was already too full of everyone else's. Psychologists call this parentification, when a child takes on emotional responsibility that was never theirs to carry. And the children who survive it often grow into the most emotionally capable adults you'll ever meet. But capability and exhaustion are not opposites. They coexist, quietly, for years. And the adult who always has to be strong is almost always the child who never got to be weak.
The modern world has made this so much heavier, because now the need never stops. 20 years ago, when you went home, you went home. There was a physical separation between you and the weight of other people's lives. Now your phone carries everyone with you. The friend who texts at midnight, the colleague who messages on Sunday, the group chat that needs a calming presence, the social media feed that pulls you into everyone's emotional reality, whether you asked for it or not. Strong people absorb all of it. They respond, they reassure, they regulate, and they do it all while quietly never putting their own emotional needs anywhere near the front of the line. And here's the painful irony. The more capable you are, the more invisible your own struggle becomes. Because everyone around you has learned that you can handle it, that you always handle it, that you will always handle it. So they stop asking if you're okay. Not because they don't care, but because they've never seen any evidence that you aren't.
So let me say something directly to the person who needs to hear this tonight. You are not a machine. The fact that you keep showing up for everyone, always, without complaint, is not evidence that you don't need rest. It's evidence of how much you've suppressed your own need for it. The strength that everyone around you relies on, it has a cost. And that cost is real even when nobody sees it, even when you don't show it, even when you've convinced yourself that you're fine because the alternative, admitting you're not, feels too unfamiliar to be safe. You have been the safe place for so many people. You are allowed to need one too.
Here's the quiet truth underneath all of this. The people who carry the most are often the people who received the least evidence that it was safe to put things down. They learned strength not because strength came naturally, but because vulnerability felt dangerous. And so they built this incredible capacity to hold things, to stay steady, to be the calm in the middle of everyone else's storm. But even the calmest ocean has a floor, and underneath all that steadiness, there is a person, not a role, not a function, not a support system, a person who gets tired, who doubts themselves late at night, who wonders what it would feel like if someone showed up for them the way they show up for everyone else. That person deserves rest. Not after everyone else is okay. Now.
But here's what's interesting. The people who carry this kind of silent exhaustion, they rarely show it. Not because they're pretending, but because over time they developed something else alongside the strength. A mask. Not a deceptive one, a protective one. And the psychology of why emotionally strong people build these masks, why they smile when they're struggling, stay calm when they're breaking, and choose silence when they most need to speak. That's the next video. And if this one found you at the right moment, that one will too.